Supreme Court employees, officials, and associate justices wear red Monday as a show of protest during their first flag ceremony since Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno went on indefinite leave. Officials and employees are tight-lipped as to what red means, but they erupt with applause and cheers as soon as justices emerge from the SC into the grounds. Associate Justice Teresita Leonardo de Castro wore a red dress, while Associate Justice Samuel Martires wore a red polo shirt. Associate Justices Diosdado Peralta, Lucas Bersamin, and Andres Reyes Jr. wore red neckties. Associate Justices Mariano del Castillo, Francis Hardalesa, Marvic Leonen, Noel Tiham, and Alexander Hismundo are wearing neutral colors. Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio does not attend the flag ceremony. Instead, he appears on a television morning show to talk about the West Philippine Sea. Associate Justices Presbitero Velasco, Estela Perlas Bernabe, and Benjamin Caguiwa do not attend. A pocket of Sereno supporters chant "Don't succumb to dictatorship" outside the SC while the ceremonies are ongoing. The group, mostly women, hold placards saying President Rodrigo Duterte is scared of women. This goes to show the complicated story of Sereno's predicament. She is hailed by supporters as a strong voice of dissent against Duterte. But in her own backyard, Sereno does not get the same support. Justices have not gathered in these numbers to attend the flag ceremony since Sereno was appointed Chief Justice. The non-attendance at flag ceremonies was interpreted as a form of protest of the justices who weren't pleased with her appointment. The symbolic flag ceremony comes after an unprecedented united public stance of 13 justices who belied the statements of Sereno's spokespersons who said she was merely taking a wellness leave. The 13 justices said they reached a consensus that the Chief Justice was to go on an indefinite leave, with Sereno agreeing to it. Insider stories from the unbanked meeting said she tried to resist it, but gave in to pressure eventually. Court sources said there was an understanding she would be on leave until the end of the impeachment process. Some of the country's poorest households are expected to continue suffering from a high inflation rate in the next 2 months due to the recent spike in fuel and food prices. University of the Philippines Diliman School of Statistics Dean Dennis Mapa cites data from the Philippine Statistics Authority saying inflation experienced by the bottom 30% households surged to 4.8% in January this year from 3.6% last December. This was higher than the headline inflation of 3.95% in January and beyond the government's target of between 2% and 4%. MAPA points to the direct and indirect impacts of the newly implemented tax reform law on the movement of prices of basic goods and services. For the bottom 30% of Filipino households, the food index was faster at 4.9% in January compared to the 3.7% in December 2017. High inflation among poor households in January was also mostly felt in the price of rice. MAPA cites organizational problems at the National Food Authority as an indirect effect of the tax reform law on inflation. The Finance Department on Sunday says the tax reform law had no impact on inflation except for sugar-sweetened beverages. The DOF says the 0.2 percentage point increase for fish in January was due to the closed season in fishing, which led to scarcity in fish catch. But MAPA disagrees, saying the economic managers may have overlooked the welfare side of the tax reform law. He says the poor mostly consume canned fish, not fresh fish. The European Union will give 242.4 million pesos, around 3.8 million euros, to the Philippine government's drug rehabilitation program amid public lashing from President Rodrigo Duterte. The EU says the funds will be released in the next days. The disbursement of the funds is the last component of the EU's drug rehabilitation program, which is meant to help drug addicts return to normal life. The EU has supported the Philippines' health reform agenda since 2013. Last Thursday, a landmark agreement called the Partnership and Cooperation Agreement between the Philippines and the EU entered into force to strengthen ties in political, social, and economic matters, including human rights. The PCA is a general framework to allow better collaboration between the EU and the Philippines. It was signed in 2012 and ratified by the Philippine Senate last January 22. The EU also said it will modify the standard text of its financial agreements with the Philippines to avoid reiterating the condition on the respect for human rights. Duterte repeatedly hurled expletives at the EU for criticizing his war on drugs, which he likened to meddling in the Philippines' internal affairs. The Philippines earlier rejected at least 380 million pesos, around 6.1 million euros, in aid from the EU.